So today we're going to dive into a book that has, no exaggeration, changed millions of lives. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to get to the absolute core of his work. This big idea that real, lasting success doesn't come from a slick personality or clever tricks, but from something much, much deeper, our character.
So let's just start with that. What do you think is the real foundation of success? Is it about having the right image, knowing the right techniques to get people to like you? Or is there something more to it? That question, well, it's pretty much at the heart of everything we're talking about today.
For about the first 150 years in America, the answer was crystal clear. All the books and articles about success were focused on what Covey calls the character ethic. We're talking about the big stuff: integrity, courage, humility. But then, right around World War I, the whole game changed. The focus shifted to what he calls the personality ethic. It became all about public image, quick fix techniques. Covey has this brilliant description for it: social band-aids and aspirin. It might cover up the problem for a little while, but the deep, chronic issues are still there, just festering underneath. It's basically the difference between building your house on solid rock versus building it on sand.
Okay, so why is this personality ethic such a failure in the long run? Well, it's because it completely ignores the most important thing: the lens through which we see the world. Trying to change what you do without changing how you see, it's like trying to find your way around a brand new city with a map of a completely different one. You're just going to get frustrated, and you're definitely not going to get where you want to go.
All right, let's try a little experiment together. I want you to look closely at this image. What do you see? Is it a young woman, maybe looking away over her shoulder? Or do you see an old woman, kind of looking down? Take a good look and lock in what you see.
Covey talks about this experiment he did in a classroom. Before showing this exact image, he conditioned half the class to see the young woman and the other half to see the old woman. And when he put the combined image up, chaos. Arguments just erupted. You had one group saying, "Old lady? Are you kidding me? She's 20." And the other half firing back, "No way, she's at least 70. They were all looking at the exact same lines on a piece of paper, but they were seeing two totally different realities. It's an absolutely perfect illustration of how our preconditioning shapes what we think is just objective fact.
And this all leads us to a really key idea: the paradigm. A paradigm isn't just your opinion. It is the map you use to make sense of the world. It's how you perceive, how you understand, how you interpret literally everything. These maps get drawn over our entire lives, and they are the source of every attitude we have and every action we take. And here's the kicker: if you want to make a real, meaningful change in your life, you can't just tinker with your behaviors. You have to go deeper. You have to change the map itself.
There's this great quote that just nails it. Where we stand depends on where we sit. Our perspective isn't some pure objective thing. It is totally shaped by our experiences and our position. We walk around thinking we see the world as it is, but what we're actually seeing is the world as we are. And that, right there, is why the personality ethic just doesn't work. It's all surface-level stuff that ignores the map underneath.
So, if our maps, our paradigms, are all flawed and incomplete, what are we supposed to navigate by? Well, the answer is to stop focusing so much on the map and start focusing on the territory itself. We need to center ourselves on something that doesn't change every time a new trend comes along. And to do that, we have to understand the huge difference between principles and values. Think of it this way. Principles are the territory. They're the objective reality, the natural laws that govern the universe, like fairness or honesty. Values, on the other hand, are the map. There are subjective beliefs about the way things are. Covey makes this brilliant point. A gang of thieves can share values, right? They can be loyal to each other, but they are totally violating fundamental principles of society. Real effectiveness only happens when our map, our values, actually aligns with the territory, the principles.
And what are these principles? Well, they're things we all kind of know deep down: fairness, integrity, human dignity, service, growth. These aren't just nice ideas, they're universal. They're self-evident. You can try to build a life or a business based on their opposites: unfairness, dishonesty, disrespect. But we all know how that story ends. These principles are like the North Star. They're always there, unchanging, and we can always use them to find our way.
All right, so how do we actually start living a life that's centered on these principles? It all begins with recognizing one of the most fundamental human freedoms we have: the freedom to choose our response.
Covey tells this incredible story about Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who was a prisoner in the Nazi death camps.
Frankel realized that between what happened to him, the stimulus, and how he reacted, his response, there was a tiny space. And in that space was his power to choose. That was the one thing the Nazis couldn't take from him. And guess what? We all have that space. Between what happens to us and what we do about it, we have our human endowments: self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and independent will. We get to choose.
And this freedom, and this power to choose, is the absolute heart of what Covey calls proactivity. It's so much more than just being a go-getter. Look at the word responsibility. If you break it down, it's responsibility, our ability to choose our response. Proactive people get this. They know their lives are a result of their decisions, not their circumstances. Reactive people, they're driven by their feelings, by the weather, by what other people do. They've essentially handed over the remote control to their emotional life to the outside world.
And you can literally hear this difference in the way people talk. Reactive language is all about removing responsibility. He makes me so mad, as if your anger is something he did to you. I have to go to this meeting, implying you're a victim with no choice. But listen to proactive language. It's all about ownership. I control my own feelings. I will choose an appropriate response. Let's look at our alternatives. It is a massive shift from being a victim of your life to being the creative force of your life.
So, the whole journey to becoming highly effective is what Covey calls an inside-out process. It doesn't start with trying to fix your marriage or get a promotion. It starts inside, with the most fundamental parts of you, your paradigms, your character, and the principles you choose to live by. It all starts by recognizing that little space between stimulus and response, and using your freedom to make proactive choices that are aligned with timeless principles. That is how you build a foundation of character that creates real, enduring success.
So I want to leave you with a proactive question, straight from Covey himself. Just think about it for a second. What is the one thing you could start doing that you aren't doing now that if you did it on a regular basis would make a huge positive difference in your personal life? What about in your professional life? The answer isn't some quick fix. It's going to be an action that requires you to dig deep, to tap into your character, and to choose your response. And that right there is where true effectiveness really begins.